Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on amplifying your business through ATDW. We've got a number of you logging in, so I'll just give you a second to get connected. My name is Naomi Farrelly, and I'll be your presenter today. And joining me is Avril Dunn on technical support.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning. For housekeeping, we're just going to ask if you could keep your video off and your audio on mute throughout the session. The session will be recorded and then be sent out to everyone who's registered as part of our follow-up from today. You'll get the presentation slides as well as a range of resources too that we'll refer to today. We welcome you to revisit the recording and share it with your colleagues and watch it on demand. Come back to it from time to time. So if you've got any questions throughout the session, please pop them in the chat box, which you can see at the bottom of the Zoom screen. We're going to collate these at the end of the session and then we'll come back and answer them for you. And if you have any technical issues in the session, please pop it in the chat box as well, and Avril will respond to you directly. So in the session today, what we're going to cover is what is the ATDW, or the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, and why every eligible tourism business should be listed on there. We're going to talk you through how to set up your listing, the practical side of it, including who can list and the information that you'll need to include in your listing and how to access the site to create your listing. And then we're going to talk about how to make the most of your listing with some tips on writing your description, using your images and videos, and then we'll give you some extra tools and resources to help you. So we don't have long today. It's only 20 minutes, nice and short and sharp. So what we're going to do, Avril and I will switch off our videos and we'll get into the slides. So, amplifying your business through ATDW. What is ATDW? So the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse is essentially a really big database of all the tourism products, experiences and services across Australia. There's around 90,000 listings in the database across the country, and it's a partnership between Tourism Australia and each of the state and territory tourism organisations, or STOs. It's a national platform, but the content that's on there is actually administered by the STOs. Its ultimate function is to support Australian tourism operators and to extend their digital reach. And we know how important the online presence is for tourism marketing. We know that 85% of people use the internet to plan, inspire and book travel experiences. And we also know that the average traveller visits 22 travel-related sites during 9.5 research sessions before they actually make a booking. So listing on sites like ATDW are really important for tourism businesses to extend their reach. They help you to create a billboard type effect, providing exposure for your business across a range of different sites. So by setting up your listing with ATDW, your product will then become listed on consumer sites for your STO, your state tourism organisation, and Australia.com, which is Tourism Australia's consumer website. In addition to that, there's also over 250 distribution partners globally that use the information from ATDW to populate their websites. So that one simple listing has the potential to give you global exposure and really amplify your online presence. And best of all, ATDW is currently free for operators in all states and territories across Australia. So previously there was a charge in Victoria and Queensland for tourism operators to list, but this has been waived for now as part of their COVID recovery response. So it's a great time to get online. ATDW is also really important for your relationship with your tourism organisation. It's where they go to find products and experiences to include in their marketing activities. And at the moment, as we move into a recovery phase, STOs and Tourism Australia are investing really heavily into the marketing activities to encourage Australians to holiday at home. So just this morning on my way to work, I heard an ad on the radio for holidays in Canberra. The call to action to plan my family holiday was visit canberra.com.au. The product information that sits on that site is populated by listings on ATDW. So with this increase in marketing activity, now's really the time to either create your new listing if you haven't had one before, or update your existing listing. So firstly, let's talk about how ATDW works from a tourism supplier perspective. So what happens, it's like a little distribution channel. As a tourism operator, you're going to enter your listing via the platform atdw.com.au. You'll upload all of your product information there. And then what happens is it gets sent through to the STOs to review your listing. And this is really just around quality assurance, just to maintain the data integrity of the sites and to make sure that the products on there actually meet the standards that are required to be listed on the site. Once they approve your listing, what happens is your information then sits in the national database at ATDW, and then the different distribution partners can access all of those listings and pull down the information that they need for their different channels. So for example, an STO for their website would pull down all of the listings related to their state. So in New South Wales, they'd pull down all the New South Wales listings. A visitor information centre, for example, might just pull down the information related to their region, or a tour wholesaler would pull down the information about the destinations that they visit and the products that they might include in their programs. So then the consumer, if the consumer's online and they're searching and planning their holidays, they can now see your listing on any of those sites with distribution partners. So it really helps you to expand your digital footprint and drive traffic to your own website as well. So potentially from that one simple listing, you could be exposed to millions of consumers each year. And this is an example of what your listings look like when they come onto the state and territory site. So the one at the top there is from Phillip Island in Victoria. So this is the things to do on Phillip Island. So all of those attractions, amazing things, Penny's Phillip Island Chocolate Factory, the Grand Prix circuit, been to all of those places. That information comes through from ATDW. Same with the accommodation, the winery accommodation you can see there in South Australia. That information draws through from ATDW as well. So that's how it works. So how do you go about setting up your listing? Well, before we jump in and start loading up all of our details, I always find it's really useful to understand what information you're going to need and have it ready. So that's going to make that job of loading the information much easier and simpler for you. And it means that you're probably not going to get stuck along the way and think, oh, I'll just come back and sort that out later, which we know that actually we never do, right? It kind of gets forgotten about because we're all busy in our businesses and sometimes we don't get back to these things. So first things first, we're going to talk about who can actually list in the database. So to list in the database, the tourism businesses need to be eligible and they need to fall in one of the following categories. So you need to either be an accommodation provider, an attraction, an event, food and drink, which is restaurants, cafes and bars. And previously, restaurants, cafes and bars couldn't list directly onto ATW. They can list directly now. There are some listings that are pulled from Zomato, the website of restaurants and cafes. But as a business, you can also go and upload your own listing for your restaurant or cafe as well, which will actually overwrite the Zomato listing. Hire businesses, so car hire businesses can list, tour operators, so people that are providing tours in the local area, and transport providers are the ones that can list. So for each of those different categories, there's actually specific eligibility criteria as well. And in the resources from today, we'll send you the details with the links to all of the full criteria so that you can check before you go on and create your listing to make sure that you are actually eligible to list. There are some businesses that aren't eligible to list in the database, and this includes purely web-based or virtual businesses, so you actually need to be a physical business. Accommodation booking services can't list. Accommodation providers can, but not the booking services. Businesses who only list on booking websites and don't have their own digital presence. So you do need to have your own website to be able to list on ATDW. Human resource providers, so people like cleaners or companies that labour hire companies for the hospitality industry, for example. Wholesalers or inbound tour operators and travel insurance providers. So they're the people that can't list on the site. Any other tourism business should be eligible to list on the site, but do check the criteria before you start to set up your listing. So what information do you need to include? There's some mandatory information here to include. So the business name, product type, address, phone number, email address, your website and your booking link. Details about the accessibility of your business as well in terms of whether you have wheelchair access to the property or whether you can have wheelchair access on tours, and photos as well. So most of this information is things that you should already have in your marketing toolkit for your business. and you can just upload it into the website through the portal. There's also some optional information that you can include, and I always recommend that you include as much information as you can on your listing, because that's going to give the visitor the most complete view of your business. So really show them exactly what you've got to offer and give them as much information as you can about your business. So the optional information is videos, and you can include up to 10, prices, information about your operating hours, whether or not you've got Wi-Fi facilities at the property, extra facilities that you might have, memberships and accreditations. This is an important one which we'll talk about a bit later around our COVID safe accreditation and how that impacts your listing as well. You can also link through to your social accounts through your listing and further extend your online reach that way too. And to set up your listing, you simply go to atdw.com.au once you've got all your information ready. And then we click on the Register Now button if you're a new business up there in the top right-hand corner, or if you've already got a listing, you click on the Log On. And then you'll go into the site and follow the prompts. And in the resources that we have, there's full details about what you need to do once you get in to update your listing or to create your new listing. You load your details, and then what you do is submit it. It goes through to the STO for that quality assurance review that I was talking about. And this can take up to around 48 hours. But then once that's done, your listing becomes live and it will look something like this, depending on your state and the type of business that you are. So this is an example of a listing in New South Wales for Barrington River Hideaway. So you can see the images sit there at the top, the product information below, and then all the contact details are there for the top and the top section too. So they can click through to see prices, which takes you to the booking platform. If you have one, go directly to your website and get directions via Google Maps as well. So that's the basic information that you can include in your listing and what you need to get started. But we don't want you just to have a basic listing. We want you to create a listing that inspires potential customers and gets them to actually click through to your website and ultimately to your booking platform, and it converts into a sale for you. So to do this, like I said, you need to include as much information as possible and make sure that you're selling your product and experience. Don't make the mistake of thinking that this is just a government listing. A lot of people I see quite often think, oh, it's a government website, it's a government database. We'll just put the basic information there. It's not. It's a marketing channel and it speaks directly to consumers and it's free. So make the most of it. Don't just add the basics thinking that will do. There's nothing worse from a consumer perspective than going on a site and not being able to find all the information that they want. So make sure you populate as much information as you can. Remember, the potential exposure of this site is millions of people. So just make sure that your information is correct, up to date, and that you make a good first impression. So let's talk about how you can make a good first impression. The business description is the thing that you need to spend some time working on. So that's the information about your business and how you talk about your business. So you want to include your business name in the first sentence, talk about the benefits of your business and really the unique selling points. Make sure that you're experiential. Talk about what the customer will do when they come and visit you, and write with your customer in mind. Avoid using first-person language. Use short sentences. Remember, it's online, so use short sentences and make sure that you talk about the destination. Sell the destination as well as your product and experience. You've got 200 words, so make sure you make the most of them. In the resources that we send out from today, there will be some examples of a good description to help you get started on writing the description for your business. The next thing to think about is your imagery. So think about imagery and making that good first impression. You know that you've only got a few seconds to make a first impression, good or bad, when a consumer visits your site or sees your information online. So there's some technical requirements for images when you're loading up your listings. Importantly, you can only use a landscape image on ATDW. They don't accept portrait images, so that's really important to consider when you're selecting the images that you're going to use. And you should also add alt text. This is something that people quite often forget and overlook, adding the alt text to the images when you load it up. When you go in, and the resources will talk you through exactly how to do it. When you upload an image, it will ask you to add that that information. And alt text or alternate text is what's used for people with vision impairment, and also by the search bots or the crawlers when they go out and they search the internet, the whole World Wide Web for information. And it reads that information about the image. So it helps you come up in search results, but also helps for people with vision impairment as well. So when you're getting your images together, use professional images where you can. For all businesses, and I know small businesses, budgets can be really, really tight, particularly at the moment, but where you can, use professional images and get someone to take some really great shots for you, a suite of hero shots that you can use for your marketing. Include people in your images where you can. So there's research that says that if people can see themselves having in the image, they can see themselves having that experience and they're more likely to engage with it. So use people where you can, and make sure that those people are reflective of your customers and your target market. So if your product is a family-based product, so if you maybe a holiday park that's really targeted to family groups, use families in the images. But if you're a luxury accommodation, for example, and it's about couples and they might be an older demographic, use images with those people in it. So just reflect your customers in your imagery. Make sure you're really showcasing the experience in your imagery as well, and highlighting the key features of your product. So, you know, people don't need to see necessarily photos of the kettle and where they can make a cup of tea. They want to see what the room looks like, have a beautiful shot of the bathroom. They want to understand what they'll actually see when they go on a tour, and how they'll engage with you as a person or as an operator as well. So think about how you can really highlight your product by the use of imagery. The next thing that you need to look at is your videos. So videos are such a powerful tool in marketing these days, and they're becoming so important. As consumers, we love visual content. We're just consuming it at a rapid pace. And it's so powerful for us as tourism businesses as a tool to share our stories and inspire and connect with our customers. So there's some technical details there for you about uploading your videos. So you need to use YouTube or Vimeo. You can't load them directly into the platform. And you really need to make sure when you upload your video that it's publicly available so that ATDW can actually share it. But when you're making your videos, firstly, I'm going to say be creative and have a bit of fun with it. Making videos now is so much more accessible than it used to be. We all have the tools in our pocket with our iPhone. Don't be afraid of them. Have a bit of fun with it. Go and test it out and start, you know, trying some different things. But when you're creating your videos to go online, you do need to make sure that they are good quality. So if you're going to create them yourself, test it out a few times. There's simple tools that you can get, like a tripod or a gimbal, that aren't expensive, that can really help with your video production. Keep them short and sharp. Short is best. Think about snippets to tell the story of your business. So a short video perhaps about how you arrive at the property for your accommodation, a short video on each room type, a short video on each tour, rather than creating one long video. You want nice, short, sharp snippets to tell the story of your business. As I said, be creative, and if you need it, get help from a professional to really help you hone those video skills to tell the story of your business. It's a really fun tool to use, and it's really important to use it across all of your marketing platforms, not ATDW. So have a go, be creative, be a bit brave with the video production for your business, because it really can add to your marketing activities. So videos are important. And the next thing that's important at the moment, really, really important, is about updating around the COVID safe practices that you have in place in your business. So there's a few ways to do this through ATDW. The first, which is recommended by ATDW themselves, is to use that first line of your product description to go in and update it to let people know the status of your business and how you're operating at the moment. Also, make sure that you update the product information on your listings to reflect any changes in your operations. So for example, if you have restricted trading hours, or if the times for your tours have changed so that you can meet the requirements of COVID safe practices, or the cost of your tours might have changed as well. Any of that information, make sure that you go through and you update it on ATDW, but also it's really important to do it on any of your other marketing platforms as well. So perhaps at the same time, update through ATDW, look at your own website and review what you have there. And also look at any other listings that you might have online too. And then in the accreditation section, which I mentioned earlier, you can add details around any accreditation that you may have around COVID safe practices. So there's 3 areas where you can get accreditation. One is through ATIC, through their COVID cleaning practicing business accreditation, which is a real mouthful. And we'll send you the links for all of these if you want to check them out. The other is through ATEC. They have a COVID ready program. And thirdly is through your state government requirements and completing a COVID safe plan for your business. So you can update those details if you have them in the accreditation section of the listing. So down the bottom there's an example. So Queensland, for example, are actually using these accreditation now to filter through to the website so that consumers, when they're traveling, can see businesses that are good to go, as they say, or that are COVID safe and have been accredited. So Queensland are doing this, and no doubt we'll start to see that flow through to other STOs as well in their marketing activities as they go. So that's really important that you update that and keep your customers informed of changes to your business and how you are operating at the moment. So that's a really very quick 20-minute update on ATDW and how to get your listing set up. So to recap on that, from today. So firstly, that one listing gets you onto your STO consumer website and Australia.com and so much more. So it's really a great distribution tool and a great exposure for your business through that one online listing. It's free. So there's really, cost isn't a barrier. So just get online and get it set up. You do it via atdw.com.au. When you're doing it, make sure that you're writing a really great description of your business with your customer in mind. Keep them top of mind. Use 10 really good quality images with people in them if you can. Start using videos to tell the story of your business and make sure that you're including that COVID safe update information as well. So to help you from today, because I know this is a very quick overview for you, just in 20 minutes, what we'll send out as part of the follow-up, as well as the recording and the slides from today, is a toolkit on how to set up your listing. It's really, really detailed, and it goes down to information of, how to resize your images so that they meet the size guidelines for ATDW. So you'll get that, so work through that. We'll also send you through links to the specific category criteria and the requirements from ATDW, so you can check to ensure that your business can list before you go about setting up your listing. Some FAQs from ATDW themselves, so if you have questions as you work through, you can check those questions and look for answers. And there's also contacts at your STO. So each STO has a dedicated resource that manages ATDW. And you can actually pick up the phone and talk to a person if you want to, and they'll be able to help you through any questions that you have to get your listing set up. And finally, of course, we're here to help as well. So these are my details up on the screen. So if you wanted to reach out and get in touch and had any other questions, feel free to do so via email or phone. So that's it from me from the presentation, the content. I'll hand over to you, Avril. Did we have any questions that have come through in the chat box through the session?
Nothing's come through in the chat box yet, but if anybody does have any questions, please pop them in there now and we can do a bit of a Q&A session. It might just be helpful, Naomi, if you can recap for us who actually can list, because there was a couple of participants who joined after we went through that.
Yeah, certainly. So the eligible businesses that can list on ATDW, you need to fall into one of the categories of either accommodation, attractions, events, hire businesses, food and drink, which is restaurants, cafes and bars, tours, or transport operators. And so, as I said, there's specific criteria around each of those, and we'll send through the details as part of the follow-up, so you can really just double check to make sure that you are eligible. But generally speaking, all tourism businesses are eligible to list, with the exception of those online services. So virtual businesses, accommodation booking services, and then, tour wholesalers, inbound operators, and insurance providers.
Great. And I guess the other point that is important for people who joined later was that it's a marketing platform, not just a government listing.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. So quite often we find that people just think of this as a government listing because it is owned by the STOs and Tourism Australia. It's not. It really is a marketing platform that gives you reach globally from one single listing. So it's important to remember that when you're uploading your information and pulling together that content for the site, that you're talking directly to consumers, and that's how you should be speaking and presenting your product.
And I think just one last question, 2 top tips for updating your listing or amplifying your listing.
So top tips is to write it with your consumer in mind. Think about your customer and really sell the experience that you offer to them, and link that to your destination as well. Have some great photos and great video content too, and include as much information, complete as many of the categories when you're uploading as you can, include as much as you can, so that you're really giving the consumer a complete overview of your business. And finally, I would say make sure you keep your listing up to date. So you do need to update your listing at least once every 12 months for it to remain current on ATDW, but there's no reason why you need to wait 12 months. Like all of your online platforms, you really should be keeping them up to date with information as your business changes. So make sure you keep that information current and up to date.
Great. I think that's it then for this one. No more questions coming through. As Naomi said, if you do have any questions, please do reach out to her personally or contact anyone from our Sparrowly Group team. And stay tuned for more webinars to come over the next few weeks.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Avril. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Naomi.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Naomi.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.